Yeah, happy for my players. Wins are hard to get, and so grateful for the work they continue to do, my staff, and the support we're getting. And we are still a work in progress, but man, is it better to be working and progressing with wins than not wins. And so, yeah, I remain encouraged. And here comes the next part of the Mountain West schedule. Glad to take questions.
Second straight 50-point game. You guys kind of added a couple things in there in terms of just how you wanted to attack Air Force's defense and how you think the offense executed as a whole.
Really dynamic, explosive, creative, and a lot of different players doing different things. And similar, a little bit similar to last week, the game flow was similar, where we got out in front, a fairly commanding lead, and then learning to play in that space, which is a different space. And so even though we addressed it toward the end, not quite as consistent and rhythmic, I would say, offensively, and same defensively with inconsistencies. And so that space now is, who knows how many times we'll be in that space, but I saw similarities. So really encouraged by the points, by the production, by the diversity, the number of different players contributing. And I just learned that there was only 4 penalties. 2 really frustrated me, which were after the fact, toward the end, critical times too, one after a touchdown and one after we'd made a defensive stop. So that's been a unique experience to have that many in 3 weeks and have it drop that drastically. We did address it, so it's gratifying, but I'm still looking for more in terms of improvement.
I know you guys did address the penalties, but after 170 yard school record and all that with New Mexico State, how did you approach it heading into bye week?
Just kind of how we're talking. There wasn't ranting or raging or up-downing or anything. There was just explanation. And they basically were coming in 3 different areas. There's concentration penalties, which are happening before the play usually, and that's concentration, and that's totally controllable by each individual. Execution, that means during the play, positioning or fundamentals were not being used correctly, where they're out of position and then had to reach, grab, or hold, something like that. And then, quite frankly, discipline penalties, those are mostly after the play. And so 3 different areas, and I just explained it to the team like we're talking. And they took it upon themselves. And so far, it appeared that message got through. 1 game into that, we'll see if it holds.
Is the defense worn down in the fourth quarter?
I don't think it's relaxing, but we are struggling to maintain our concentration and discipline and execution. Just eye control here or there, and man, doesn't take much, as you can see, for points to go on the board. We were a little thin, as I mentioned, coming out of New Mexico State, and I think there's a lot to learn for this team, this program, and especially these defensive kids. What's it like to play ahead by 24 or 21 in the second half? And you certainly can't relax, which I don't think they are. But the concentration, I think it's human nature where an edge might come off. We're working hard on it. You can see we have a long ways to go, and so we'll keep chipping away.
So with the win tonight, that makes it 2 straight now. What's been clicking the last 2 games that wasn't clicking in the first 4?
I'm not so sure there's a lot that's different, other than maybe we had some pretty good teams we played to start. And it might just be that. It might be that we're becoming more seasoned, more experienced, and more confident, or it might be a combination of the 2. I'm not sure I can answer specifically. But I know I feel confidence developing. I feel rhythm and optimism growing. I feel hope moving toward belief. And it's just good to see smiles. That's the best part of being a coach.
And another great ground game attack today. Last time you guys played, we saw Nakai Rogers. He really had a great game. Today it was Eli Sanders. What's the plan for the run game moving forward? Will we see more of a split carry system, or will we mainly see one guy like Eli Sanders?
No, you'll see both. They're different styles, and there's different challenges for the offense with each style. And you saw Soljay Maiave also, and it's a great problem to have really good players that you're trying to find touches for, rather than not having enough players to find a touch for, or And so I'm encouraged, and I think we do a really nice job offensively of using the players that we have. And yeah, I'm encouraged.
Coach, this is the first win for you guys in nearly a calendar year. How gratifying is it for you to get your first win as a head coach of this program, to just give it to the fans, give it to the players, and for yourself?
I envision this program being exceptional. I envision the stadium being full. I envision New Mexico football being something that people want to see and support. I see more. And yeah, it's taking a lot of imagination currently to fill in those blanks, but I see it and I believe it. And I'm encouraged, and I hope those watching us see it and can believe it.
Jason had mentioned that he was interested in getting some more Soljay Wildcat carries and kind of just using it more in general. What about tonight kind of made that kind of an ideal play in the flow?
It wasn't necessarily this opponent. It was just time. Soljay, if you go back, he arrived the first day of fall camp. That's not December with an entire off season. That's summer school and late classes and moving his family and all that, and arriving in time for day one. There's a huge adjustment. And so we're now at week 6 after fall camp, and it's just taken that much time to kind of have him emerge. We already knew the type of player, but conditioning, acclimation, and productivity, that doesn't just happen when you throw someone out early. So I think it's just the time and the preparation is now kind of, it wasn't necessarily that we were playing Air Force. It was just the time.
You mentioned, it's a good problem to have that many ball carriers, that many skill sets, and do that. Are you kind of like, when you're approaching that as we want to continue to stay balanced, or hey, this guy, we can ride with him throughout this game to get.
Yeah, it's both. It's both for sure. I'd love for as many players to touch it as possible until it's clear that there's one that is having a better day. And so I reserve the right to suggest that, but the offense is thinking that as well. And so, and let's face it, sometimes it just is a player's day. He's just feeling it more or having a better day than someone else. Doesn't mean the others aren't capable.
I know there had been a feeling that there was some momentum gaining a little bit with Trujillo and what he was kind of bringing to the table. Obviously, he had that huge gainer on the first drive to kind of keep it going. What's your read on his performance tonight?
Same. So I think the bye usually affects younger players a little bit more than older players. And so I think there's an element of restarting, but that's over-exaggerating because he's already started. But I think younger players, it takes a game or two from a bye to kind of re-emerge and find their rhythm again. Experienced players, not as much. And so, yeah, he's going to be really good.
I know Air Force had to do some different things because of how far back they were kind of playing behind and all that. But you mentioned earlier in the week where there's a certain point in the game after you settle in where players have to make decisions about playing the B gap,
Totally.
playing the C gap. I mean, did you feel that they did make those decisions?
There was a stretch in there that I really liked with some fourth down stops and turnover and all that, and then another stop, and then there was a penalty at that point. So there was a stretch in there, man, I was really excited for them, and then after that it drifted a bit, and so another thing to target, another thing to work on, but that's part of where we are.
It seems like the option kind of rewards defensively mature teams. How mature do you think this team is?
I think we're inconsistent and maturing, I think is the way to describe that.
And then Gabe Lopez was tonight. I'm assuming that's with an injury.
Yeah, it's with an injury.
And then Bobby Arnold, any update on him?
No, he went out early. We were so thrilled to have him back, and he was playing really well in the early series. And I forget, third or fourth series he went out. But we got Cam Watts back, which was great.